Hey everybody, it's Gina, and I have a little secret for you. Many months ago, I recorded the review for the fourth Night World book, Dark Angel, and it got completely screwed up. I recorded it about 4 times over, and I could not get it to upload no matter what I did. It was incredibly frustrating. Um, and so now I have some time to do it, but I decided that rather than make you all wait for all this stuff, I decided that I'm just going to do one big fat review because I have longer recording times on my videos now here on YouTube of just the entire second omnibus of the Night World. So we're going to be reviewing Dark Angel, The Chosen, and Soulmate. So I'll start by reading. I don't know if I should read from. I guess I will read from the back of the Dark Angel original book. So here's the sort of synopsis of Dark Angel. One winter day, Gillian Lennox almost dies and is saved by an angel. His hair is gold and his eyes are violet, as are her own. And when Gillian comes back from her near-death experience, he comes with her, an invisible guardian that only Gillian can see. He whispers the secrets of popularity in her ear. Overnight, the once shy Gillian becomes a sensation. David, the boy she's loved for years, notices her. But then Angel begins to make bizarre demands, to draw Gillian into a world of risk and dark excitement. At last, she has to face the terrifying question: who is Angel? What has she brought back from the other side? And can she and David find out his secret before it's too late? Who knows? I know, because I read the book. But anyway, that's basically what the Dark Angel's about. It stars a girl named Gillian, and she has a near-death experience, and she meets this angel who he tells her to just call him Angel, and he says he's her guardian angel, and she's very shy, she's very unassuming and meek looking, and but she there's this guy, popular guy named David, who has always been really sweet to her, and she's head over heels for, but she's never had the courage to really do anything about it. So with Angel's help, she starts becoming more and more popular, but as it usually goes with stories like this, the more popular she becomes, the more of her true self she kind of begins to lose, and she starts kind of getting lost in um, the feeling of being popular. And it's the problem that I have with Dark Angel is that it is a very typical story in that way, where girl finds a way to become popular, girl changes herself, and then until somebody makes her realize that she's become a really ugly person, and she would rather just be herself than be this popular person that she never wanted to really be in the first place, kind of thing. It's probably my least favorite entry into the Night World series. Um, it's not something that really enraptured me as I was reading it. It does, introduce us to the idea that there are, things besides vampires and werewolves and witches. Where all of a sudden we have, a guardian angel floating around. So it does give a little bit of more mythology into the world, and but not nothing that I can really remember particularly from it really stands out as something that you need to read. You notice that my reviews for the first 3 books, I told you, there are certain reasons why I felt you need to read this book. Either an important character was introduced, or an important, plot point or story idea was introduced. I don't think any of that was really in Dark Angel. So, if you want to, have the complete story, you might want to read it. And then, of course, I told you that, LJ has admitted that in the 10th book, which has not come out yet, that all of the characters from all of the books, so I assume that Jillian will also be back in that book. So you might want to read the book just so that you know who Jillian is and know, what she's been through. So that, that'll probably make it easier for you to understand the last book. So for that reason, just for the completion of the story, you might want to read it, but otherwise I found it to be kind of very flat. So as is my tradition, I will now show you the original Dark Angel book. So here it is. There's Jillian. Where am I? There's Jillian right there. And there's Angel. And the tagline is, he knows her secrets, her deepest fears. And here again, as was on one of the other books, is a contest to win a Night World flower pin that expired in 97. But again, it's paperback, thin. But I love the art on these older books. I really do. And it's cool because you get to kind of see what the characters look like, which is always kind of fun. Because I assume that this is kind of what LJ wanted them to look like. I assume that she approved the cover art. So it's an okay book. So moving on to the next book, The Chosen, which is probably one of, if not my favorite book in the entire series. To contrast from Dark Angel, I don't have the original of that book, unfortunately. You could probably Google it and see the original cover. Unfortunately, I don't have it because the book was out of print by the time I tried to get a hold of it, and I could never find another copy for less than like $100. But there is a little bit of a synopsis on the back of the omnibus, so I'll read that. Armed with a wooden stake, martial arts, and the will to resist a vampire's mind control, Rochelle struggles to avenge her mother's death in The Chosen. There she meets Quinn, her soulmate, who is part of the world she is vowed to destroy. So you might remember Quinn from the second book, Daughters of Darkness. He was the uh, vampire that came to the town where the Redfern sisters were living, and he was kind of on Ash's ass about getting the girls back to the vampire island where they lived from and making sure to rein them in. And so, we see him as this kind of cold, capricious hard ass, but what we find out in The Chosen is that he's actually an incredibly famous vampire. He's very, very old, and he is known for his savageness and his ruthlessness. And to contrast, our hero in this book is Rochelle, who she watched her mother and her best friend both get murdered by this mysterious vampire when she was little. And so now that she is a teenager, she is a vampire hunter, and she has dedicated her life to finding the vampire that killed her childhood friend and her mother and killing him. So in the beginning of the book, she's part of this small vampire hunting group. And through certain events, she meets Quinn. But the problem is, as in all these books, is that Rochelle and Quinn are soulmates. So she has to find a way to get her revenge while also kind of resisting Quinn. And, it turns out that the more she knows about Quinn, the more she realizes that, his cold, capricious attitude is really much of an act, as she finds out more about his past and, you know, how he became a vampire and the circumstances behind that. And, if I explain any more than that, I'll spoil it. But it's an amazing book. The characters are incredible. It's so well written. And we're introduced and we learn more about the Redfern family, who Quinn is very much tied to. So we learn a lot about them. We get to meet many members of the Redfern family. So for that reason, this is a very important book to read in the series, because the Redferns are kind of really the main big antagonists in the series. Especially Hunter Redfern, who is the head of the Redfern family and one of the oldest vampires in history. So, you get to meet him in this book. You get to meet some of his family, and for that reason, this is a really important book to read. It absolutely is, and it's a fantastic book to boot. So, if you're looking for a good mix of action and suspense and a little bit of romance and a little bit of humor, The Chosen is a great book to read. And The Chosen was actually the first L.J. Smith book I ever read. I found it in my local library, and I picked it up because I was bored and it looked kind of good and I fell in love with it, and then I started picking up the rest of the series. Wasn't the best introduction because it's smack dab in the middle of the series, but it's a fantastic book, so you definitely want to pick that up. And the last one is Soulmate, which I'm kind of in the middle on, but I'll read the description from the back of the original book for you. Hannah Snow's life was so together. Friends, terrific grades, dreams of a career in paleontology. Everything was perfect until notes started appearing. Notes in her own handwriting, warning of the danger that was coming. Dead before 17. The psychiatrist was supposed to help, but what came out of the age regressions were memories of another time, another life, and of a stranger who tore her world apart. A vampire who killed a village in his rage until, in the eyes of a dying human girl, he recognized his soulmate. Now the stranger is back. He searched for Hannah throughout the years, trying to make amends, waiting for her to be reborn. Now he is Thierry, the lord of the night world, and nothing in heaven or hell will keep him from his soulmate again. But if her destiny is death, can even Thierry's love protect her? Well, that's questionable. So basically, that is what Soulmate's about. It's about a girl named Hannah who starts finding these mysterious letters written in her own handwriting that say dead before 17 and a ton of other stuff. And she goes to a psychiatrist who tries hypnosis, and she finds out that she has lived past lives. And there is a vampire named Thierry, who is the lord of the night world. He runs all the vampires, all the witches, all the werewolves. And he is her soulmate. And they met back in, um, like kind of like caveman sort of times. The story does show their first meeting. It's a little difficult to describe. I don't remember too much of it, to be totally honest. But so he is tried throughout all time. Every time she's reborn, he tries to find her, but she keeps dying before the age of 17. And he's continually trying to track her down, but she keeps dying. And sometimes he finds her, and sometimes she wants nothing to do with him, and sometimes she kind of remembers him, but she always winds up dying. So he's now, in this book, found her again in her newest incarnation, and this time he's completely determined to put an end to it all and save her and make sure that she doesn't die before she turns 17. Now, this is a really important book to read because it explains the origins of vampires and witches and stuff in general. A lot of the characters that are mentioned and discussed in this book are, the forefathers of the night world. So, as far as the mythology of the universe is concerned, this is a really, really important book. Thierry, as the head of the night world, as you can imagine, is a really, really important character. And Hannah is also a really, really important character because, she'll obviously be coming back, and, she's Thierry's soulmate. So she kind of is sort of, the princess or the queen of the night world in a way, if things work out the way Thierry wants them to, of course. So, it's a good book, but it took me a while to get into it. When I read it over again, I definitely like it more the more I read it. But when I first read it, I wasn't really too fond of it. But it's a pretty good book. So let me show you the original cover. There is Thierry and Hannah. And it says, "A love that spans the ages." And you can see, I don't know if I can get it on camera. You can see she has kind of a spot on her cheek. That is a birthmark that signifies that she is what is called an old soul, which is a soul that gets reborn and reincarnated every time it dies. So that's yet another kind of supernatural being or state that is also introduced into the story. So, this is also a really important book to read. So I guess that's my review of the second Nightworld Omnibus of Dark Angel, The Chosen, and Soulmate. Dark Angel is kind of eh. The Chosen and Soulmate are not only good books, especially The Chosen, but they're really important to read for the mythos of the story. So that's pretty much it. If you have any more questions about the books or anything like that, feel free to leave some comments. And hopefully soon I'll be able to do the last 3 books, which I don't have an omnibus for. So I'll try to put those in one video too, just for the simplicity of things. So there you go. That's it. Leave any comments, any questions that you might have. And happy reading. Until next time.